Pod. Go get your seat, go get your popcorn. Let's get ready to rumble. We got Harold Bone in the house from Rockton-Roscoe News, and we have our guest tonight. Our special guest. He's got his team really playing out high clip. They were our game of the week last week over there at Belvidere North. Hononegah head coach Brian Zimmerman is in the house. Also, too, who were our top performers of the week? Anybody new on the list? Well, only way you're going to be able to find out, you got to go get your popcorn, go get your snack, go get a beverage of your choice, and then, like I've been saying the last 2 weeks, go get your neighbor. Hurry up. The show is about to begin. And welcome to another great edition of the Bailey Pod. You guys can catch the Bailey Pod every Thursday via YouTube. Again, every Thursday via YouTube. I'll be coming to you. I'll be bringing you Nick 10 highlights. I'll be sitting down with coaches and players, just illuminating some of the athletes and players' success thus far this season. Guys, remember to go follow, go like the Bailey Pod. Keep coming. As long as you guys keep coming, I'm going to keep serving. So make sure you guys keep coming. And then also, too, lastly, make sure you guys go click that bell in the bottom right-hand corner so you guys can be notified for all new content that actually we'll be providing you during the week. Usually, I'll start off my show either highlighting the game of the week, just giving our take. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. I'm going to start with our top performers of the actual week. Short list, but a good list. Again, I'd rather have a good list than a list not at all. Brayton Lane, Hononegah, came up big for the Indians. Four catches, 70 yards, and a huge catch at the end to give that Hononegah team that big victory on Friday night over the Belvidere North Blue Thunder. LaShawn Gathright, this young man keeps moving, folks. He's good. He's a great talent. He had 245 yards on the ground for the Jayhawks. Dominic Kelly, 8 of 13 passing, 95 yards. He was clutch at the end of the game for Hononegah, punching that 3 to 4 yard run that he had at the end into the end zone and giving Hononegah that big W to be now at 7-1 in the conference. Nate Johnson, Harlem quarterback, 326 in the air, 3 TDs in their big victory comeback win over Boylan High School last Saturday. Jackson Cook, this young man, folks, he keeps tearing it up. And the scary thing is, folks, this young man's only a sophomore. This young man is only a sophomore, and this young man's already got 7 or 8 TDs on the season. He had a huge game against Boylan last Saturday, 101-yard touchdown, interception, return for a TD, again, in their big victory over Boylan last week. Andrew Bucci, the Bucci man, Belvidere North. He was 10 of 29 rushing. He had 3 TDs, 4 of 6 passing, 68 yards in their loss over Hononegah last weekend. Folks, again, this is a performance-based list that I put out every week. And again, a lot of the guys that have made the list have definitely been worthy of this honor of being the top performers of the week here on the Bailey Pod. Again, we got one more week. Let's see who's going to be in next week. Guys, I'm going to continue to move on because we got a busy show tonight. As I stated earlier in the show, our special guest tonight, Harold Bone from the Rockton-Roscoe News. I'm going to be bringing him on here in a second. And then our very, very special guest, so to speak, is the head coach of Hononegah, Brian Zimmerman. He's got his team really playing at a really high clip right now. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the playoffs as they get ready for the playoffs here in the next couple of weeks. But first, they have to get past the Belvidere Bucks on Friday night. Folks, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start. We're just going to illuminate our game of the week and just give our take. And tonight, I got Harold Bone from the Rockton-Roscoe News with us. That's going to weigh in a little bit on the actual big game last week, Belvidere Hononegah. Harold, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really good, Tim. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to this. Looking forward to talking to Coach Zimmer as well.
Absolutely, Coach. Absolutely. Hey, I just want to get right to it. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I just want to be as effective as possible these next 30 minutes before Coach Zim joins us. But let's talk a little bit. Both you and I were at the game, Belvidere North in Hononegah, and we had a chance to meet and talk. And we sat next to each other. What are some of the things that you saw, in the first half, with Hononegah, and then also to talk a little bit about, some areas that where you maybe think they really need to improve on. Again, huge victory, huge feat for Hononegah. They played very well in the second half. but I thought, and I'm pretty sure you thought the same thing. I thought they probably could have played better in the first half. I thought they were a second half team. I think that's when they kicked it into gear. We saw some different things in the second half that we didn't see in the first half. Talk to that a little bit for me here with the actual viewers.
Yeah, Tim, I think one of the things I made note of in that game is that after the first touchdown scored by Hononegah, Belvidere North was able to answer later, in that first half. And it kind of took Hononegah a little while to get their feet underneath them after a while. After halftime, there was a longer halftime than normal, and I think that did affect Hononegah. It took them all the way through the third quarter, halfway through the fourth, really to get some things going offensively. And once they did, they were able to get some nice passes from Kelly to, as you mentioned, Lane. Just a fantastic play there. If you haven't seen it, it's all over the internet there. Just a fantastic play by those two young men. And then the defense stepped up. They really shut down the Belvidere North offense in the second half. You mentioned Bucci. Bucci came in and did a fantastic job. I don't know where they've been hiding that kid all year long, but man, he came in. His stats might not look great, but boy, did he do some great work. Leading that rushing attack, leading that offense. Really impressive job by him last week. But once Hononegah got their feet underneath them, I felt like they did what they do, which is they run the football. They sprinkle in a little bit of passing here as the season's gone on. Dominic Kelly, the starting quarterback for Hononegah, has done a much better job of hitting his receivers. He's not your conventional drop back passer, that's for sure. We made mention of that when we were talking during the game. He's an off-platform type guy. He's going to run around. He's going to make a play. He has qualities. I'm not saying that he is this guy, but he has a lot of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen type ability to run around, find guys open, and then hit them. And that's really what he did, and that's what allowed them to get back. Not only that big play that really set up their go-ahead touchdown, but he made a couple other plays in that game where, he hit wide receivers crossing patterns in the middle. He hit some outs to his wide receivers, and just put a lot of pressure on the exterior of the defense for Belvidere North. He got outside the tackles, and they had a hard time bringing him down.
Right. I want to talk about their Hononegah's defense a little bit. They did a really good job of really just, slowing down that dangerous Belvidere North offense because, I've seen Belvidere North play quite a few times this year. And, they're a home run team. Their guys can go 50, 60, without a problem. You didn't see that on Friday night. You got to give credit to Hononegah's defense because I think defensively, they played well in some areas. But for them to be able to go into that hostile environment over there at Belvidere North and really slow that really great running game down of Belvidere North speaks volumes to Hononegah's defense. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway for me in that game was the Hononegah defensive line was able to control the offensive line for Belvidere North. In the games leading up to that, if you would watch the film, you would see the Belvidere North offensive line push back the defensive line for the opposing team, and it would open up all kinds of holes, and they would give the ball to Dinsmore in the middle, and then once the defense collapsed, the quarterback would pull it out of the belly of Dinsmore, and he'd pitch it outside, and they'd have a home run threat every single time. What Hononegah did really well is their interior linemen and the linebackers closed down the middle of the defense really well, and then it allowed the outside players to run to the ball before the before the North players were able to get to the line of scrimmage and turn their shoulders upfield to run. You made them go, instead of going, north to south, they had to go east to west, and that really slowed down their running game a lot.
Right. Yeah. And you got to give credit to the defense because I think I think Hononegah's defense really truly doesn't get enough credit. I think they're so loaded, with the skilled players on the offensive side of the ball. Sometimes the defense can get overshadowed by those big star-studded names that they have on offense. I totally agree with that. I think they got good pressure on Bucci. Belvidere North did something that I haven't seen all year, and that's actually put together a pretty decent passing game.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree with that.
you
Probably
know
the
they
best
were
passing game they've had all year
yeah, and they
long.
were without
I
their
didn't realize
starters.
their receivers could catch the ball, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah, and they were
I was
without
a little surprised that they could catch it that well. And they got behind the corners and the safeties for Hononegah for some nice plays there. Also, I want to give credit to the secondary for Hononegah because they came up and made a lot of really good hard tackles on the running backs when they did get the ball. So, I mean, the whole defense at each of the levels did just a great job last week for Hononegah. I think maybe the Hononegah defense doesn't get as much credit because the previous years you had Cole Warren, Isaiah Huey, and just a plethora of great offensive talent for Hononegah. Right. And the defense kind of sat in the background then, where this year, Kurt Smith and the rest of his teammates, they're not leading the charge for this Hononegah 7-1 Indian team.
Right. Yeah. And, you just alluded to something. I just think, right now, again, how well they've been playing defensively really speaks volumes to this 7-1 record. I really do believe. I think they're 7-1. Not only what they've been doing on offense, putting up some phenomenal points, week in and week out against these teams in the Nick 10, but just really how they've been able to come out and really just shut teams down has really impressed me these last 8 weeks.
Yep, I think they're clear and away the most dominant defense in the Nick 10. And talking to some people who have been around the history of the Nick 10, this may be the most dominant defense that they've seen in the last, since Coach Zimmerman has been there the last 10 years. They have players that are going to play at the collegiate level at every single level of the defense, every single level. That's, I don't want to say it's unheard of, but in the Nick 10, that's something that's pretty special.
Yep, I agree. Let's move here. Let's move to offense for a second as we continue with our takes. Again, offensively, my take of their offense, again, came out first half just a little lethargic in some areas. Really didn't really get the passing game established as well as I thought they probably would. Does that concern you? Because again, if you know Hononegah the way that I do, they're usually a good balanced team. And I didn't really see that balance really in the actual first half like I did against Boylan.
Yeah, I think, after the first round of the playoffs, I would be a little more concerned with that. I think going into the first round of playoffs, I think they can do what they continue to do. But as they go deeper into the playoffs, they have to be able to pass the ball better. Dominic Kelly and all of his receivers, not only Braden Lane, but the rest of the receivers, they need to step their games up once playoffs come because they're going to play against better talent that's closer to where they're at. And their defense is going to have that much more pressure on them. They need to continue to improve that. I will say this about their offensive line. I think their offensive line is pretty good at pass protecting. They just don't maybe get as much notoriety as the running game gets for their running, their blocking ability for the run. But I do think overall they're a very good offensive line. They have 3 returning starters from last year. And the other 2 guys that are in there as well, they've had a lot of playing time. You obviously have Jacob Benson and you have his brother Max Benson. Both those guys are just tremendous football players, possible all-conference performers there. Just a team that's well-built, well-schooled, and well-taught by the entire coaching staff at Hononegah.
Sure. You just, again, what they've been able to do offensively, for the last 7 games, again, was great. Again, it came out in the first half. And I looked at, I think I was saying next year, I looked at you, I said, offense doesn't really look that good tonight. They were struggling to get, 5-6 yards. You really didn't see any big plays that they created on offense, in the first half. But I'm going to shift gears here. The second half, Hononegah was just a different team offensively. Would you agree?
I would say latter half of the third quarter and into the fourth, they played with a lot more confidence. It's almost like they knew if they didn't turn it on now, they weren't going to pull out this one. I mean, I'm sure Coach Zimmerman's going to talk about this when we have a conversation with him, but he would like his team to play a little bit better earlier so he doesn't lose more hair or have more gray hair. Right. As a sporting fan, I loved it. Then it came down to the end, but really they did struggle in that first half. I think they found some things that they could work on. One side of the offensive line was starting to dominate. That helped them a lot. Kelly rolls out a lot better to his right than he does left because he's a right-handed quarterback.
Sure.
But he also, that's where Lane is as well. So they took opportunities and had advantages on that side. And the big play, what happened there is the corner just lost sight of where the wide receiver was, where Lane was. He got behind him, and the ball was thrown over his head. Great, look, give all the credit in the world to Kelly. Great play. Corner just kind of lost his perspective as to where the wide receiver was. Right. We've seen it at every level of football. I don't care if it's high school, college, or the NFL. We've seen it. It happens when you have an athletic quarterback like Dominic Kelly. Things like that are going to happen, and they were able to pull that one. I would say turn that from an L to a law, or from an L to a W real quick.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you. I mean, just, the excitement, the fervor that they played with, the zest and the zeal and the resilience that they played with in the second half, again, was just blatantly different than the team that I saw in the first half. And I'll be honest with you, I was kind of concerned, number one, they were on the road. Number two, they're without their star receiver in Small. And I'm like, okay, what's that offense going to do tonight against a really good Belvidere North defense?
An interesting thing I made note of, because I, after halftime, I went down kind of behind their bench and by their student section. I didn't feel like there was a lot of panic there at all on the sidelines or in the fans. I think that they were all in it. They all knew that they had plenty of time and they could get back in the game if they just did the right things. And even the coaches, when they were talking to the players, sometimes, in a game like that, you'll hear the coaches raise their voice or yell or scream. I didn't hear that at all. They just were matter of fact. They talked to the kids, and the kids went out there and executed. So it was really a team win, top to bottom. Every guy on that roster were super supportive. I mean, it was a great thing to watch in a high school football game.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And you look at their past offensive performances. Again, without their star receiver, they lose a big part of their passing game. Some other guys have stepped up, come alive. Rodriguez. Lane's been coming up big. I call him the Wes Welker, of the Nick 10. I mean, this guy's he's slippery. He's pretty elusive when he gets in the open field, and he's really come up big for Hononegah these last few weeks. Yep. Speak to his game a little bit for me before Coach comes in.
Braden Lane, give him a lot of credit because, he doesn't get a lot of opportunities like a lot of the other receivers do in maybe more pass-happy offenses, but he makes the best out of what he gets. Right. And one thing that goes unnoticed for Braden is that he's a very good blocker when the running game comes his way. You'll look, especially when Smith runs to the right side, which is where Lane is normally positioned in the offense. He'll run that side and he'll get additional yards because Braden Lane either ran the corner off or he did a great job of stalk blocking. Maybe I've seen him a couple times block the guy out of bounds. But I really like the way that he plays. He knows what he's doing. There's no panic in his game. When the ball's thrown his way, he's ready to get it and do the best he can with it. And I really think he's an unsung hero for this team.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like what he does. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the most athletic guy on the field, but he just comes up really in clutch moments for them. And he's done it the last 2 weeks. He did it against Boylan. He was that catalyst in that fourth quarter that allowed Hononegah to really, come back and put that W on that board and go up, big over Boylan. And you saw it again, this past Friday night against Belvidere North. I mean, the guy gets open. We're going to show some footage later of him getting open, but he just really found when you watch him, you'll see he just found a gap, spun and got some space. And, the quarterback, Kelly, just did a really good job of just really keeping his eyes downfield and staying fixated on what was actually about to happen and come open. So, yeah, they've been really, he's been big. Lane's been really big. I like him.
Yeah, I know earlier in the year when I've had a chance to talk to Coach Zimmerman about that fact that Kelly and Lane seem to have a really good connection. He talked about the fact that they run a scramble drill on Thursdays in one of their practices. It's normally 15 to 30 minutes that they do the scramble drill. And it's they have rules for it. Like, so when Kelly rolls out to the right, here's what this receiver is supposed to do and that receiver. And it's something, it's not as sporadic as you would think. There are rules as to how you run that, and I'm not sure that everyone understands that there are things that a wide receiver can do during those plays to get himself open and without having to play off the defender so much.
Sure. Yeah. And, again, we're not taking anything away from, what they've done well on the ground, over the last, 8 weeks, but, you have to be concerned a little bit about their passing game because, again, you're just not seeing enough of it. If you will, you're just not really seeing enough of the pass as we saw last year with Warren. And I get it. I get it. You got a young Johnny Manziel back there that can really use his legs. But I think he's got some arm talent as well.
Yeah, I know I've seen some footage of the early years of Coach Zimmerman coaching at Hononegah, and this is more toward this year's team is built much more like those teams than the last 3-4 years with Cole Warren. Look, I told you this on Friday night. Cole Warren might be a once in a generation of a coach, your career. That you're not going to get a kid to throw for 28 touchdowns and 2,000 yards every year or even every 4 years. That's just not going to happen. But a team built like this with great defense, tremendous special teams, and an offense that doesn't really turn the ball over and can execute in tight quarters and understands what they can do and what they can't do, I think you can win a lot of ball games and you can make a deep playoff run, which is, I'm sure, what Coach Zimmerman and the staff are hoping to do.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure they are, and again, you got to factor in how well they've been playing in special teams as well. We can't leave that out. They've had some great returns on kickoff return. They've had some great kick coverages. So, just what they're doing in all facets to me is just, it's nothing less than phenomenal. I think they should be able to close out, the year with the W over at Belvidere next week. How do you feel about that game coming up next week or this week? Excuse me.
So Friday's game against Belvidere, I'll say it like I tell my 12-year-old son: get there early or don't come at all. I don't think the game's going to be all that close. I'm not a betting man but if I was gambling, I'm guessing that it would be Hononegah minus 28.5 to 31.
Sure.
Belvidere, they just have a hard time putting drives together. I've seen 4 of their games against North, Boylan, Harlem, and I've watched Auburn once. I'm going to watch it again before Friday's game because I'm a film junkie. It's what I like to do. Right. I don't watch TV shows. I just watch football games. Right. And they just have a really difficult time putting things together. They're only averaging about 12 points a game, whereas Hononegah is averaging 36 points a game.
Right.
I'm not sure what they can do to honestly threaten Hononegah in the game. They don't have a lot of speed. They don't have a ton of talent. Not saying that they don't have good football players, mind you. I just don't think they have home run hitters. And I think against this year's 2024 Hononegah Indians defense, you're not going to score a lot if you have to drive down in 8, 10, 12 play drives. You're not going to score a lot. This is not that type of defense that you're going to be able to do that against. And, Belvidere has a couple of good players. They'll probably be honorable mention all conference performers, but nobody that I think threatens the Hononegah defense where you have to say, okay, I need to know where this person is on every single play. And I think that's where they're going to struggle. And that's why I think early in this game, if Hononegah gets up early by, say, a touchdown or 10 points,
sure,
it could get real ugly real quick by halftime. It could get running time before halftime. And I hate to say that about a high school football game and high school kids, but we have to be real about the fact that Belvidere is just right now they're undermanned. Coach Donnelly, he got hired in August. He's the new wrestling coach as well. He's got a monumental task over the next couple of years to turn the program around.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, the focus right now, I'm pretty sure over there at Hononegah, we'll know here shortly when Coach Zim comes on, but, they're probably just really focusing in on the now, not really thinking down the road, in the next 2 weeks when playoffs start. And if I know Coach Zim the way that I do, he's telling his guys, guys, let's have a good week of practice. We got Belvidere to get ready for. They're a good team. Let's not overlook Belvidere at all, because that saying any given Sunday in that movie, any given Sunday, I'm about any given Friday. Anything can happen, but I'm not saying Hononegah would end up losing to Belvidere. I'm just saying, you just have to get guys focused, because again, you're on a high right now. You're coming off that big win last week over Belvidere North. So, you just have to keep your guys really focused and really, make sure that they're ready to go when that time comes.
Well, Tim, and we know this, we both played football. If you're not mentally ready for a Friday night game, that's when you're going to get hurt. That's when you're going to get injured. Things like that happen. Maybe you don't play well, but maybe you roll an ankle. And then first round of the playoffs, if you roll an ankle, you're not ready to play, and then you hurt your team in that. So you have to be mentally prepared for that. And I know the entire coaching staff in Hononegah, they're only focused on this 1 week against Belvidere. The Bucks, they're talking about the fact that as to what do they have there? What can they do to get things kind of in their direction? And what are we going to do to counteract that? From the opening kick to the halftime whistle to the gun going off at the end of the game. Like, what are we going to do, and how are we going to do this? I would assume in the back of their mind, also too, they're thinking about this is the last regular season game for a bunch of seniors on both teams. This is the last time a lot of those kids are going to play football. They're not going to strap up the helmets anymore. A lot of these kids won't go play college ball, and it's not like you can go out, in a park on Saturday and put on uniforms and equipment and go play football. That's just not how life works, as we all know. Right. So there's going to be a lot of emotion on the Belvidere side, because that's, I think, an interesting dichotomy is what Belvidere team are you going to get early? And that's why I say go there early, see what happens. Because if Belvidere, if they're in the game early and they're mentally and emotionally there, it could be a tough game until halftime. And then I think after halftime, Hononegah is as good at making adjustments with this coaching staff as I have seen. They have a great coaching staff. They understand their strengths. They understand the weaknesses. Right. And I think Coach Zimmerman and those guys, they get the kids in order and ready to play in the second half. Right. And I think they'll be ready on Friday to play a really good game and send the seniors out the right way on the regular season. And I think Belvidere, I think they'll put up a slight test early in the game, but I think Hononegah will just be able to really just kind of put them away right before halftime or right after.
Yep. I agree. I definitely agree with you, and again, you got playoffs, looming, right around the corner, and, you just want to be smart, play some of your second team guys. I mean, this could be a game coming up where, they can play a lot of their second team guys. And I think if you can do that, that's a bonus, particularly going into the playoffs, because, in the playoffs, you need to lean on those second team and third team guys. They need reps.
I think Tim, I think for Hononegah, I think one benefit that they have is their backup quarterback, Drew Shockley, has a lot of the same skills that Dominic Kelly has. So if the game gets to a point where you can pull Kelly out, you can keep a lot of those guys in and still run a lot of the same plays. You don't need to change your complete offense. It's not like when the Washington Commanders, when they had RG3 as a starting quarterback and they had Kirk Cousins as the backup, and you had two completely separate defenses. That's not what Hononegah has to do.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Well, we're going to continue to move forward. Our guest is waiting on us, Harold. So we got to get him in. I know he's ready to get to bed. He's got a big game this weekend. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring our guest in. Guys, without further ado, here he is, Coach Brian Zimmerman, Hononegah. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, congratulations on the big win last Friday and all the success that you guys are having right now this year. And also, too, a big feat you had. I just saw this come across my desktop the other day. You are now the all-time winning coach in Hononegah history. Congratulations. I salute you.
Well, thank you very much. It's a very humbling thing to have happen for me. Again, that's it's really nice. It's not, to be quite honest, it's not anything that was an aspiration of mine. So, Andy Gannon always talks to me on Friday nights, and he's the one that brought it to my attention. It really wasn't anything that I was even looking at, but certainly it's an honor. There've been, so many exceptional coaches that have been at Hononegah. So I'm just honored to be part of that.
Yeah, just I'm going to illuminate some guys you just surpassed. Don Van Skelven, 80s, 1980, 1990.
He was my high school coach.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
great guy, great coach too. Steve Stromquist,
he was my mentor.
Yep. Okay. All right. I see why you're so successful. Tim Chagro, again, you surpassed a lot of great coaches here. And again, I just want to, salute you and tell you that, the Nick 10 is forever grateful for you. And Hononegah is really fortunate and blessed to have a coach of your caliber. So, Coach, we're gonna actually just jump right into this. Harold from the Rockton-Roscoe News is with us tonight, as you see here on the screen. Coach, we just want to talk a little bit about, I just want to get straight to it, the game Friday night. Everybody's just in awe how you guys were able to come back and overcome some adversity. Can you speak to just a little bit here how you guys were able to stay calm, stay collective, and actually come out with that big W in a very hostile environment over there at Belvidere North?
Well, for starters, that is the first time that we've been down all season. So for the guys to respond the way they did, I thought was exceptional. We do talk about that. We mention that every single week, no matter who we're playing and what we're doing, we talk about adversity. We talk about being able to rise to the challenge. So I think those are things that we do tend to prepare. We try to prepare our athletes for, but I thought it was exceptional the way they responded. And the fact that here we are down 19-7 at one point, and they could cash it in. They, things don't look great at that point. And then we mount a comeback there. And I didn't hear any negativity on the sideline. There was no internal, strife going on. There was nothing that indicated at all that we weren't going to be able to make that comeback. And there were no doubters. There was, nobody hanging their heads. So, I'm going to attribute that to, the coach is number one, because I think that all of those position coaches, they get after their guys and they talk to them and, kind of get in their heads. And then again, it comes down to what we talk about, pregame. I always talk about, don't worry about the other team, worry about ourselves. And the only ones that can beat us are ourselves. And I kind of felt like we did beat ourselves a little bit Friday night. And then here we came back at the end and again, just made some exceptional plays with some outstanding athletes. And it's honestly, in 32 years of coaching at Hononegah, that's probably one of the best comebacks I think I've seen.
Sure.
So it was really, truly special. And hats off to Belvidere North. They are a very good team this year. And, it's just one of those plays that I'm sure they wish they could get back. And it's one of those plays that I'm ecstatic that we accomplished.
Right. And Coach, yeah. And, again, the way you guys, Harold and I were illuminate this early, but were you really impressed with how you guys, I know we're talking about the comeback, but how impressed were you with your team in the second half? Because again, you guys came out a different team in the second half than what I saw actually in the first half. Can you speak to that a little bit?
We made a couple of adjustments at halftime. We really talked offensively about trying to get Dominic out of the pocket. I think he does a little bit better when he's not standing back there behind the offensive line, and he can maybe see a little bit better. Plus it possibly gives him more of an opportunity to take off and run if he doesn't have an open receiver. He's done a really nice job of scrambling around. And to be quite honest with you, that is one of the things that we do during practice is a scramble drill, especially for that. But I thought that, we did make a couple of adjustments there offensively. And then defensively, I'm so proud of the way we fly around defensively. And the guys did their jobs. And that's what we talked about all week, about doing their jobs. About stepping up. We made a couple of slight defensive adjustments, a little bit because I feel like they were trying to get us to move inside more so they could get to that pitch outside.
Sure.
So I thought we did a nice job of really containing that all night as well. Because that's, the film that we watched, that's where they got those big yards is getting around the corner, getting around that edge. And we tried to prevent that from happening. I want to say one of their longest gains was probably like 10 or 12 yards in a run game. They had a couple of big passes that, again, I thought were exceptional passes, and we had pretty good coverage on that. We just, sometimes it's really tough to defend a really strong pass like that.
Sure. And, you just alluded to something, the scrambling drill that you guys do in practice. I got some footage here. I'm going to run this footage. And I watched the clip 10 times today, and he literally had the ball for 10 seconds 6 to 7 seconds before he actually let it go. Can you kind of just walk me a little bit through this, in terms of just how he just stayed so, he was just so composed and so calm, and it wasn't just him, it was your entire offense.
Well, our offensive line, this is something we work all the time, to be quite honest with you. In fact, today, we just got done. I mean, he does this every day in practice. And it sounds like, really, how do you do that? But that's totally one of the scramble drills. And we did it yesterday for 5 minutes. We did it today for 5 minutes.
Wow.
It's a sequence it's a daily thing that we basically get 5 or 6 plays. So you wouldn't think that's much time to do that in, but you take, 5 or 6 plays and we do that, twice a week on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. Right. So at this point in the season, he's had quite a few opportunities to do that. And again, I think the passing game has improved. We have had some injury at receiver, but we've got some guys that have stepped up really well. And that offensive line, again, we have a segment like today, for example, where we work the defensive line pass rush against our offensive line, and they get 5, 6, 10 reps. It just depends on the day, but that's something we work, like I said, constantly. And our offensive line coach, Phil Adams, does a great job with that group, putting in extra time. I know that typically on Wednesdays after practice for about 30 minutes, they get together, they have some snacks, and they talk about, they do review that footage and look at what they can work on to get better at. And again, it's a constant process of coaching those kids up on what they can do better on. We watch the films together. We make comments on the film. It's just, like I said, I can't say enough about my staff, the time that they put into it, but the kids themselves, I mean, they are not only resilient, but they put in the time. We see that in the summer camps. We see that all through the season. We had that little bit of a discussion today after practice. We said, where are you guys at? We know that, we're vying for a conference championship, but after that, how far do we want to go? And we're going to take that a week at a time. But, we've got guys that have that buy-in. They're not ready to be done yet. And certainly you would think, everyone's about a state championship, but, that's not been the case every single season that we've had success. Some guys get to the conference championship, and after that, they're like, well, it's been a good year, but we're ready. It's getting colder outside, and we're ready to be done. And this group, I don't see that in them at all. This group is anxious still. They want to play football, and I'm hoping that we can make some noise in the playoffs.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely a gritty group. So
that's a great way to describe it.
Yeah. Definitely a gritty group out there on the Hononegah side. Coach, go ahead.
This Harold Bone from the Roscoe News.
Harold,
great to see you. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're warmed up after the water bath after last week's game. That looked awfully cold.
I'll tell you what, I'm always welcome to receive that. Anytime you get that, it must mean you're doing something all right.
Absolutely. I just have a question kind of week to week. Do you guys have different game plans for different teams? So last week's game was much more tight to the vest, much more of a running game. This week, just looking at Belvidere, they run more of a pistol, 3 to 4 wide receiver spread offense.
Yep.
More of, I would say, I don't want to say shot, run and shoot type, but it's much more open. They use the width of the field. Is it do you guys change week to week, or is it you guys do what you do and you're just going to do better than they do?
Well, I'd be a liar if I said we don't adjust every week. No, we game plan every Saturday. I mean, this is like I said, it's a process, and that's another great thing about having the coaches that I have is that we know each other so well. We meet at 7:00 on Saturday morning, and we've got a defensive room, we've got an offensive room, and we start to, depending on the week, but we'll break down our film. And then we start to look at the film of our opponents. And again, it's early in week 1 and 2 and 3. It's easy to do that because there's very little film on your opponent. But you get into week 8 and 9, you've got 8 games to look at to see what they've done and changes that they made through the season. So yeah, we'll take a look at that, and we will absolutely change our secondary coverage. I think up front, we're either the 3-man front or the 4-man front. I wouldn't say that changes a lot, but it depends. If we've got a team like Boylan who's got a tight end in there, North came out. At times they've got their tight end, but sometimes they're in a double tight. So we really look at the other team's formations, and we'll adjust based on formations. And we'll go from there. So we've got different packages every single week, to be quite honest with you. And we spend time on Monday going through that with the guys, in offensively and defensively. Offensively, we see things that we want to add. And it's a progression. We start pretty simple in week 1, and heck, by week 9, we've got, all of the playbook in. Some of those plays, early in the season, I think we were looking at a lot of different screen packages, and we had a little success with that. I would say we haven't really ran one of those recently, but it doesn't mean that maybe, if we see something from one week to the next that we can't implement that and come back to that, or, something that we had success with previously, we'll bring that in.
So coach, kind of following up on that. So I've watched the Belvidere team 4 games already. I'm going to watch one more because I'm a film junkie. I love it.
Sure.
One of the things I made note of is they don't substitute much on defense really at all. In their last week against Auburn, they only substituted like 3 guys the whole game.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So will you guys change the tempo of your offense then based off of that? Or is it something where you guys don't really pay that close of attention to their substitution patterns?
No, one of the things that we always look at is how many guys do they have going both ways. And then, where are those guys at? Every single week there's a team, ourselves included, that have numerous players that will play both ways. And, that's really our advantage most of the time, because we got a Kurt Smith that plays both ways, but we've got other guys that we can put in there for him offensively. His number 1 position, I would say, is linebacker. Has he done a fabulous job at running back this season? Absolutely, he has. He's in the, I want to say, in the conference, he's in the top 3 or 4 right now at running backs. And here's a young man who didn't even play that position last year. So we look at our other teams the same way. We say, okay, which of their guys are going to be worn out because they're playing both ways? Which of their guys, especially their linemen, that's a tough thing to be knocking heads with linemen, back and forth and back and forth. So, I think that we have an advantage. We have a distinct advantage if they're not substituting a whole lot, because we'll have a fresh 11 guys on offense, and we will be running in new receivers, and we will be running in different running backs. Our offensive line is really the only place that we don't sub frequently right now, but again, it depends on the tempo of the game. We can absolutely do that as well. So I think that's it's a good point that you bring up, but I think that's been our advantage because of our numbers. We do have on our roster, we've got 63 guys right now. So that's quite a few guys that we have the ability. Yeah.
Impressive.
That we have the ability, and again, we try to, as much as possible, start 11 on offense and 11 on defense. Like I said, that's not always the case. We've got a couple of guys that are exceptional athletes, and will play some both ways. And then we try to get as many other guys onto those special teams. And I really feel like Coach Brian Jenkins is our defensive backs coach, but he's also really instrumental in our special teams. And he just constantly is working to improve that. He was very disappointed, as a matter of fact, last Friday night in our punt team for the mistake that we made there, taking a knee. He's like, we don't do that. Those are things that we practice that so frequently. So he was very disappointed. And he let the guys know that, and those guys, we've done so well on specials this season. So, to be able to come out of the North game and have a few mistakes like that, I think that speaks volumes also for that group.
So again, film junkie here, but have you guys started to look at any of the teams you may play in the playoffs?
No, not at all.
Or you won't wait?
Not at this point. No. Yeah. So what'll happen, we'll get together, coaching staff, varsity staff, we'll get together at my place Saturday night. We'll see we'll have a bunch of Chromebooks and laptops sitting around. We'll see who we get. We'll immediately start to research that team. We'll try to find which games, we think what teams they play that are similar to us. Maybe run the same defense, or maybe run the same offense with, a tight end or, shotgun split or receivers, whatever. So we look for some similarities there. We look for, which games were tough opponents that they played and so forth. And then, with our AD, we'll contact the school, try to set up, are we playing Friday, are we playing Saturday, and so forth. And then, like I said, we will go in on Sunday and just go through the films that we have on them and do our best to break that down and come in Monday with our game plan. So like I said, that's kind of how we operate. And because every year, Harold, to be quite honest with you, we always think we have a pretty good idea who we might play. Yeah. And then for whatever reason, it's somebody completely different, and you think we would be able to figure it out 1 through 34 or whatever, right. But it, sure enough, somebody wins, somebody loses. And just about the time, you think that you've got the right numbers there, then they take one of the guys out of our class and they go into 6A, or somebody gets bumped up to 8A or something like that. So, to be able to start to look at all that and spend all that kind of time. Hey, if I didn't have a teaching job that is my primary source of income, I would sit and do that probably. But for the most part, no. We're so darn busy at this point in the season that I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't lie to you. I have looked to see who we might possibly get. Last year, it was kind of a shocker to get Auburn, having played them week 9 and then have to turn around and play them the first round.
Right.
There wasn't as much prep for that. That was the only nice thing. But at the same time, I'm looking at a Guilford down there that plays Boylan. And if they're 5-4, they are within the realm of possibly somebody we could get. They beat Boylan and they're 6-3, and we probably don't see them first round anyway, Yep. So it's things like that you look at. And always we love to be able to get out of the conference. We're a locked conference. So that means that, we don't play anybody else. So we don't get a chance to see another team until postseason. So that's really, I guess, where you can kind of test everything. As a coaching staff, we can see, how good are we at preparing for a team that we've never played. As a team of athletes, are they responding and gearing up and doing what we're asking them to do to prepare for, a team that they haven't played yet. So it is exciting.
I didn't mean to make you say anything that was critical against the system itself. No one understands the system at any level of football as to how they figure things out.
Sure.
If you've ever looked at the NFL playoff scenario, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just at every level of football is that way. I just didn't know if you guys had started preparing for that. I know that you guys were focused on North, but now that kind of situation kind of took care of itself, you guys are in position to get to win this week, be co-conference champions. My next question for follow up with that, Tim, and I'll throw it back to you is: do you care who you tie with?
Do I one more time?
Do you care do you care which team ties with you for the conference championship?
Oh, got you. To be honest with you, no. Both teams. I have a ton of respect for Coach Morrow at Harlem. I think he's done a great job this year. Kind of redirecting that program. Coach Beck, nothing but respect for him. Both of those guys, we clinic with them. I'll see them at clinics. We'll sit down. We'll chat. So like I said, I think both those programs, appreciate both of them because they both are great competition for us and they make us better playing them. So it would be, like I said, it'd be an honor, in no disrespect to Belvidere Bucks because we have to play them and beat them. So, we take it 1 week at a time. And that's always our motto. We don't look ahead because if you overlook somebody, that's when you get beat. So, I've been telling our guys all week, Belvidere Bucks are a great team.
Right.
They've got athletes to show up and work their tails off every single week. And I said our advantage is we just have more guys than they do, and we alluded to that already. So we're focused on the Bucks Friday night, and we want to go out there and play well. And whoever wins out of North and Harlem, congratulations to them. So
it's gonna be a real good game.
Yes, yeah, I believe it will be.
Yep, it's gonna be a real good game. Yep. Good, Coach. I want to do something here real quick. I want to go back to a clip from that big play from Kelly to Lane. I have a end zone copy. Can you? I just want to illuminate your lineman because again, I watched this 10 times and my eyes were all over the place. But your lineman did a phenomenal job. I mean, can you just break this down real quick? I mean, look at your linemen, look at your tackles and your guards. They were a huge part of his reasoning for being able to extend that play. Would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look, these guys are locked on, and all of these guys do a great job. Dylan Shimp, our left tackle, he's a junior, and he just was a guy that worked so hard in the weight room all offseason. He earned that position. The other three in the middle, the Bensons at guard, and Cale Walls at center, they're all returning. And then you got Big Joey on the outside, number 77.
I mean, look at this. I mean, just a phenomenal job, man. Oh my God. I think
that plays into the idea that they're a very smart group as well, because they didn't go downfield. They could have easily gone past the line of scrimmage. Well, and they didn't do that.
Again, you look at the right tackle. I'm looking on my roster real quick because I always forget how tall Joey is. 6'6", I got him listed at. He's huge. And he's done, such a great job of working to get his feet better and to stay with the block. He's a first-year starter for us, and he's there, and he's doing a great job. And again, these are all things that Coach Adams works on every single day in practice, is the continuity with those guys.
Right.
And,
Coach, I'm sure something you pointed out as well is look at the interaction between Kelly after he throws the pass with his offensive line. He understands that the value that offensive line brings to him. He
always gives those guys kudos. And look at him. Just look at him after that pass. He's hustling down the field to celebrate.
How calm, Coach? How calm is he? How calm is Kelly? Because again, he does not. And the young man doesn't seem to get rattled. And that speaks volumes to his coaches as well. You guys didn't get rattled. You guys stay calm, cool, and collected. But how calm is he? How calm was he during this moment?
Well,
as you guys went back out on the field.
I'm sure you heard his remarks. Some of his remarks were that after I threw that ball, that was it. That's all I remember. And I truly believe that. He launched that ball, and he just hoped it was going to go in where he wanted it to go, and it goes into Braden Lane's arms. And I was talking to Braden. Actually, I was talking to him today at practice. We were walking up together, and I said, when that ball was coming at you, what were you thinking? He goes, I was thinking, I just can't drop it. I just can't drop it. He said, I'm going to catch that ball, He said, I didn't care if I got any yards after the catch or not,
Right.
but it was all about catching that ball.
Absolutely.
And honestly, that's one of my biggest joys, is to be able to continue to do this year after year, is because these guys are so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, just look
That
at
was
that.
fun to watch.
Everyone's doing their job. In the, we talk about Dominic Kelly. He's, I was talking with him, and I don't know. He said he started playing for the Junior Indians when he was 7. I was like, that's like second or third grade. When he played with them right up through his 8th grade year, his dad was the coach of the Rebels, and that's when he went up to Lake Mills. But I think he's really enjoying being reunited with his past teammates, and that's part of the reason I think they have such great continuity.
Right. That always helps.
Yeah, and he's, like I said, you can tell he has so much fun out there. I never hear anything negative come out of his mouth. He's just, like you said, he gets to that point, and you see him running around there, and that's the scramble drill that we do in practice. And
Coach,
it also helps Coach that he's a senior as well, so he's got. Although he didn't play, obviously, quarterback up in Lake Mills, it's nice having that older guy that you can rely on from a maturity perspective as well.
Yeah, and I think he's a good leader, and again, he has fun, and sometimes we've had athletes before that they forget that it's a game, and the seriousness of it sometimes, is like, sometimes you got to find the lighter side of that. Occasionally we do that. Like at the end of practice today, we were supposed to do conditioning. Well, instead we punted the ball to a big lineman who was, if he caught the ball, then no sprints.
Right.
And stuff like that. There's some fun stuff. And when he caught that ball, everybody just rallied and jumped around for joy. And what I didn't want the players to know is we weren't going to do sprints anyway, but it was just so much fun. And that's what we got to remember, is that it is a game, and we do take it serious. Obviously, we want to get the W, but we got to have fun while we're doing that. And again, that's I love my job teaching, but I love to get outdoors with the kids after class. It's a different environment when we get to practice, and I just enjoy the heck out of that. The interaction with these kids, there's the energy that's there, and they have fun. We bounce around, and it's that's why I've been doing this as long as I've been doing it.
Right.
Yeah. What did I hear? 32 years, Coach, you've been?
32 seasons, yes, sir.
Wow. Good for you, Coach.
Are kids different nowadays? I hear that all the time. Oh, kids are so different. Are they really that different, Coach?
In football, once we've gone through summer camp and we've gone through the season, they're the same. Kids are kids. As you get older and you see, we're like, oh, kids are on their phones. Kids are doing this. Kids are doing that. I'm like, if we would have had phones back then, we'd have been doing the same thing. They have different opportunities.
So
they
true.
have different, they have different things that they're interested in than we were. And we tend to forget about that as we get older. And that's the other reason I do this. It does tend to keep me, even as an old guy, it kind of keeps me young. It keeps me in the groove of what's cool and what's not cool. Not that I care about that, but it's again, I just enjoy it so much being part of all that. And again, it's my fellow coaches that I get to be around, the players I get to be around. Again, I've got 2 years. I've told everybody I got 2 years. I'm retiring, and I'm stepping away from everything. I'm done coaching. 34 years coaching is going to be a long time.
Wow.
Golf game's going to pick up.
What will you do, Coach? Will you become a fisher? Will you become golf? What would you do?
You know what? That's
what are you planning?
Great question. I know number one on my list is my wife and I are going to do some traveling.
There you go. There you go.
With summer camp and football is, it's funny because when the season's over with every year, everyone's like, oh, what are you going to do to stay busy now? I'm like, we go to the weight room. I'm in the weight room 4 nights a week.
Right.
after school until 5:15, 5:30. It doesn't change a whole lot. It's right. You're a coach, you coach, I've got coaches that coach other sports, but I just do the weight room, and it's amazing to see the transformation some of these kids will have, just not only in growing, but getting stronger from their freshman till their senior year. And that's just amazing to me, to be part of that, to see them. Like I said, that big Joey Grover, he's worked and he's worked and he's worked, and he's got the frame. And this year he just proved it. He just got it done. And I'm so proud of, young man that he is for that, not just because of football, but he's a great young man. And there's so many guys I can say that about.
Right. Coach, I want to talk about Lane a little bit here just for a few minutes.
Yeah.
He's been so huge for you guys this year.
Tremendous.
And I call him, Harold and I were talking earlier, I call him the Wes Welker of the Nick 10.
Okay.
He's just so smooth. He's been clutch for you guys all year, particularly these last 2 weeks against Boylan. He comes up big with that big run that he had. Again, not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, but probably one of the guys that has the biggest heart on the team. From what I see on the team, and a guy that seems like a young man that really just likes to win and likes to make plays, because in the last couple of weeks, that's all he's done. Can you speak to his character and his work ethic a little bit?
He is so nonchalant. I'm not kidding you. This kid, if you made plays like that, if I made plays like that, I don't know how I would act, but he's just so nonchalant about it. He shows up and he just does his thing. And, his character is impeccable. You're going to hear me say this about so many of our guys. They're just such good kids. I don't have, there's nothing that I would say about him that he needs to work on, to be quite honest with you. He's a $140 soaking wet, and he gives 100%, 100 if you can give more than that, but it's 100% every single time. And it was 3 weeks ago that he returned a punt for a touchdown, and he returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Then he has that huge play against Boylan. He came around the edge there and did that. And then we threw him in defensively, and he had that big sack down there as well.
Yep.
Sure did. And now he comes up with the big play against North. So all I would say is that, if you're a team and you don't know who he is, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because
he's definitely a playmaker.
Yeah, he's a playmaker for us for sure.
Absolutely.
And he's another one that last year, he was holding extra points for us last year.
Wow.
And with some of the talent that we had,
that's a big promotion.
He would get a few plays. What's that?
I said that's a big promotion for him.
Well,
he also, now he's a star receiver.
Hold up now, because he's still holding extra points for us. FYI. Okay. Yeah, he's still doing that. That's still part of his job. He barely comes off the field,
Wow.
But he'll do anything you ask him to do. I think he just has fun out there, and that's probably one of the more disappointing things for me is I don't know, I would love to put him up for all conference. I don't know where to put him up for.
Sure.
I wish we had, and that's maybe something I need to talk.
Like a specialty.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I probably need to talk about.
He would definitely be
a front runner. The utility player.
The utility guy. Exactly. Yeah. He certainly deserves some recognition.
Yeah, he's been a treat to watch, Coach.
Yeah, Coach. I think an interesting thing with Braden is that I wonder how much he learned from playing with a guy like Cole Warren and Isaiah Huey.
Yeah,
they did a lot of those same plays. Now Cole obviously has a much stronger arm than Dominic does, but he knew that on any single play he was on the field, Cole might find him. So he's got to make some of those plays. And I wonder how much growth he had just over his high school career playing with a guy like that. And now that he plays with a guy who really is a magician in the backfield sometimes and can get him the ball. That's got to help him at some point.
I agree. I just think that, like I said, they built up some chemistry this year, and some of the plays that I'll see him run under the ball, um, he's just fun to watch. I don't know what else to say about him.
Right.
Like you said, he just does everything we ask him to do, and then some. And he's an athlete. He's a playmaker.
And Coach, you just alluded to something, playmaker. You lost the playmaker in Cole Small.
Yeah, we did.
This year. How has your passing game been without him now? He's I don't know if he's coming back. Is he coming back this season?
He actually he came back to practice this week, as a matter of fact.
Oh wow, good for him. Good
but
for him.
non-contact. So
Okay.
And that's he's one that he is a huge playmaker for us as a junior, huge playmaker, and I love it because I coached his father back in the day as well. So again, that alludes to me being there as long as I have.
Right.
So I've known this young man since he came through our youth camp and stuff.
Wow.
He's a great athlete, great basketball player. Does an outstanding job for us catching the ball and making plays after catching the ball. The one that stands out for me always will be that one against Boylan last year where he broke away,
one-hand catch.
broke a tackle and scored a touchdown.
Yeah. He's clutch. He's clutch. Yeah.
Absolutely.
How is your passing game? How has your passing game, Coach, been, due to his absence? Do you think that you guys are hitting on, I won't say all cylinders, but you think your passing game is hitting on some good cylinders right now?
Absolutely. We've had guys step up. Again, I go back to our depth. We've had guys that have stepped up. Sam Hagg, 32. He's been most recently in practice. He's been getting open and catching the ball quite a bit. Cam Rodriguez, number 4. Cam's, again, one of our senior leaders, just busted it in the weight room in the offseason. Plays defensive back, but he's really stepped up as a receiver this year. And he hasn't had a ton of catches, but he's got clutch catches.
Right.
He's a big guy. Guess I want to say he's about 6'2". And he's just one of those guys that stepped up. Braden Lane, like I said, is come in there and done a great job. Anthony Buffalo, he's another one that, number 21. He's one of those kids that probably had a rough junior year because he's used to starting. He comes in junior year, he's got a bunch of talent in there to battle with, and then this year, he steps up as one of our top receivers. And again, we use him multiple ways. We put him in motion, toss him the ball, try to get him around the edge because of his speed and quickness. But he's made, some clutch catches. As a matter of fact, in that drive Friday night, he caught one over the middle for, I believe it was a first down, to keep that series going, to keep that drive alive. So, I mean, it's guys like that I know I'm missing a couple of guys, and I apologize.
It's okay.
But, there's Braden making plays after the catch. The guys, they're athletes and they do what they do.
Right.
They give it 100%. So,
yeah. Coach, what does it speak to for this senior leadership group on your team that really your whole team, especially your passing game, has gotten better as your schedule has become more difficult? Or, the early part of the Nick 10 schedule was not the most difficult, but now that you've played, Boylan, North, you're going to play Belvidere on Friday night, but your passing game has steadily gotten better throughout the season. Is that something you guys have talked about, or has the connection just gotten better with your quarterback and wide receivers?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's gaining experience throughout the season, realizing that, our quarterback had a little more time with our offensive line doing the job that they're doing. Trying to maybe not force the ball. We've done a great job not turning the ball over just a couple of times, I believe. Once in that Harlem game, which unfortunately went the other direction for 6. And then against Freeport, if I recall, that got batted and then caught, and also was a pick six, if I remember. So, we've limited those turnovers, but as far as the passing game overall, I just think that we've gotten better with the experience that we've gained, and again, the connection that we've been making. It's certainly something that I wanted to, when I came in as the head coach, to make sure that we were balanced both ways. There have been times in years past where I felt like we were too run heavy, and that we needed to throw the ball, we weren't prepared to do that. We were just kind of throwing it up for grabs. I don't want a team to be able to blanket us in the secondary, and then we can't run the ball. So
right.
I think it's good to be able to do both. And I think we've had success through the last 5 or 6 seasons when we can do that. When a team decides to take away your run game, if you can't throw the ball, you're in big trouble.
Right.
And we've seen that a little bit this year. Boylan did a pretty solid job against us and against our run game. North, I would say, I think we had, I'm trying to look at my stats here. I think we had 160 yards rushing to their 130. But, they did limit us a little bit in our rushing game, but I think that we were a little balanced more than we have been. And certainly that passing game helped that out.
Sure. Coach, you just alluded to something earlier, and I just want to illuminate it here real quick before we get going. But, you talked a little bit about, the playoffs and, how you guys try to prepare, and some of the teams in the conference, have helped you guys prepare for the actual playoffs. I think you alluded to Belvidere North helping you guys become a better program, and also you illuminated Harlem. How much does the conference help you guys, particularly you playoff teams? And I'm really just focusing in on you, but how does the conference make you guys so much better prepared for the actual playoffs, or do they not?
I want to be careful how I answer that, because I want to respect every team, to be quite honest with you. We opened up with Auburn, and they had a new head coach. And I know how difficult that is to come in and establish that program. They came out and they fought hard, and we knew that, going into that might not be one of our tougher games, but
sure.
They gave it everything they had, and we did a good job on both sides of the ball. So I guess going from making that statement every single week, we respect the team that we're going to play. And sometimes, like I said, our advantage is probably our numbers, because
sure,
there's just so many teams that don't have that luxury that we have with our numbers. And I think that's because of our junior tackle programs are pretty successful in the Roscoe Rockton area, South Beloit area.
And why are those? And Coach, I'm just going to interrupt you real quick. You just alluded to something, but why are those programs so successful? Particularly your junior tackle program you're referring to. Why is that program so successful, or why has it been so successful over the years? Is what I'm asking.
They're well-run programs. There's a lot of, from my experience, there's a lot of the kids' fathers that, and now again, I'm seeing a lot of my former players that are now coaching up their kids, and I love that part. And we've had in our community football. I think football's held in high regard.
I would agree.
And maybe not all communities that's the case, but we are, for a big school of 1,900 or wherever exact numbers, wherever we're at, we still are a pretty tight-knit community with Roscoe Rockton. So I think that helps out. I think I grew up there. It's a good place to be. I think I will say the same. It's still a good place to be. And we certainly grown and so forth. But I think that, again, we've seen a decline in football with concussions and et cetera, in some areas, but not in our area.
Right.
our
So
numbers can stay high. You look at a Byron, and I think sometimes success, when you have success in the program, that will also benefit because people may move into the area for that program. And
right,
like I said, I know that's what I hear about Byron.
right.
I don't know if that's the case with Hononegah or not. I don't have parents tell me that exactly, but certainly, I think we benefit the fact that we've got high academics, and I believe that all of our athletic programs are strong, and they always are fighting for one of the top spots.
So,
and
coach,
again,
so coach, if I'm hearing you correctly, are you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you saying that your junior tackle program is a product of your success at the high school level?
I'm going to say it helps. Again, we that
Fair enough.
helps. We have there's a lot of people involved in those programs, and I would be a big liar if I told you that I know everybody. I
Right.
don't. And unfortunately, I don't have time. I would love to go on Saturdays and Sundays and sit and watch those programs and be an integral part. But to be quite honest with you, I'm watching junior tackle, but it's my 12-year-old grandson playing in Bartlett,
Okay.
and to me, those are the things that, I hope my grandson remembers. And I hope that, um, he has great opportunities in the programs that he's in.
Sure.
So, I know some of the players, I know some of the coaches. We always, in the spring, we get together with the junior tackle coaches and do a clinic with them and tell them, anything that they want to know that we do. We're an open book. They want to come to our camp and see what we do during camp. They want to come to practices. I think all that helps.
I would agree.
We don't say do what we do, but we do say, if you'd like to start doing some of that, especially in the 7th and 8th grade level, it will certainly be helpful when they get to us. And again, I don't ever want to make demands on anybody, because I think that's the wrong way to go about doing things, to get people, to be part of that. But so we just chat with them about, our philosophies and what we think is important and what might work for them. And if they use it, great. And if they don't, we'll teach it to them when they get to us.
Right.
But again, just don't sour them on football. I want them to have a good experience. And that way we keep our numbers and kids get better. I've seen so many young men that have come in as a freshman and they don't know a whole lot about football. And by their senior year, they found the weight room. They built some confidence. They've gotten bigger. They've gotten stronger, and they're successful. And I think that's what football, I know that's what football did for me. And that's what I would hope that it can do for so many of these young men, is be a place where they can go and have some camaraderie with 50 or 60 guys, make some memories that when there's old guys that they can look back and be like, that was pretty cool.
Right.
And those are things that we talk with the kids about as well. So yeah, I know I'm very long-winded, and my
No, it's okay, coach. No.
my students in class tell me that all the time. If I get on a tangent, I'm like, just hold on, I'll make my point eventually. But yeah, no, I just appreciate, our junior tackle programs. I just appreciate that they get kids involved and they have good experiences, and it's not every kid that will play in high school, but certainly it certainly helps us. I know that.
Right. Sure. Coach, I'm going to, one more topic I want to explore here. I know you guys are getting ready for Belvidere, and I'm not overlooking Belvidere. I don't think Belvidere is really nothing to sneeze at. I think they're a more competitive team than they have been in years past. But you guys made a good push, good run in the playoffs last year. How much more prepared are you guys this year at this juncture, for the playoffs? Are you guys a little bit more prepared, do you think, this year? Obviously, you have the absence of some playmakers you had on offense and defense last year. Some other guys step up. Where do you think you guys are now at this juncture compared to last year at this time, as you get prepared for the playoffs?
Again, last year we broke some records during the season with some of our athletes, with Nicole Warren and Isaiah Huey. we had some of those big playmakers. I'm not going to tell you that we have those big playmakers this year, even after we're sitting here talking about Braden Lane and so forth.
Sure.
I think that's a little different. I think that we are. I don't know if it's. I'm going to label us more as a blue collar team, I guess, is what I want to say. They come in and they work their tails off. I think they adjust. I think they can adjust pretty well, and we've got all of our base stuff that we do, but I think our kids are pretty quick to make some adjustments if we don't screw them up too bad and try to do too much,
Right.
I think that's important as well.
Right.
So, compared to where we were at last year, I'm going to say that, I would say we're about the same place, quite honestly. The good thing is I do have a couple of guys that have had some shoulder injuries, some ankle injuries, and I think we're coming around. A couple of those guys will be out this week, but I think they'll be back the following week.
Okay.
So, and again, maybe we'll see a Cole Schmall in 2 weeks for the first round of the playoffs. I know he's eager. Yeah. So I would love.
That'll boost your offense by 60% for sure.
Yeah.
It'll give Kelly another weapon.
Sure.
Again, you mentioned Rodriguez and you mentioned Lane and some other couple other athletes, but I think if you guys can get Schmall back, I think you guys become that much more dynamic, in the passing game.
And he'd be somebody that, again, other schools out of our conference won't know who he is, and he might, that first week back surprise somebody.
Yep.
Right.
Coach,
anything in closing real quick?
Real quick, Coach. Your message is getting across to the Junior Indian Tackle program. My son played in it. Your message of making it fun and making them, don't eliminate them before they're ready to be eliminated. That's kind of the message that I heard all the way through. And I want to invite you on behalf of the Junior Indians, if you want to come to Championship Saturday, Riverside Park. First game, I believe, is at 8:00. So you got plenty of time before the playoffs. Come on down. Everyone'd love to see you. So
I appreciate
I'll
that.
be there in the afternoon, but
okay.
Yeah. So
I appreciate that.
That's always a possibility.
I got a few things.
Hey, Harold, what about Harold? Hold on, Coach. Harold, what about my invite?
Riverside Park's a public park. You can come down too.
Always welcome.
Come on down. Come on down. They'd love to have you. Hey, and the double cheeseburgers are the absolute best. I'm just gonna tell you, the absolute best.
That would be worth.
All the time.
Yeah, that'd be worth stopping for lunch there for certain. I've got a small honey-do list on Saturday, FYI. That will be the first.
So we'll see you sometime in 3 years. Got it. I understand. I'm not getting between you and your wife. No way, shape, or form.
This will be the first time in about 9 or 10 Saturday mornings that I won't have to be at school at 7 a.m. So yeah, but like I said, I would certainly love to. If I get a chance, I'll try to pop down there.
Yeah, Coach. My last question for you before I think we're going to let you go is, so I'm just doing a study last year to this year as far as passing the ball in the conference and running the ball. It seems as though everyone in the conference has decided to run the football a lot more than last year. And the receiving leader last year in the conference was Isaiah with 795 yards receiving. And this year, the leading receiver is probably not even going to get the 500 yards. Why do you think that switch happened so quickly?
I don't have a real answer for you. What I'm going to tell you is we had some really top quarterbacks that had a few years experience starting that graduated last year. Boylan's quarterback, our quarterback. I'm not sure. I'm trying to recall who Harlem had. There weren't a lot of guys coming back. I think Guilford's they have a sophomore quarterback.
Weber.
Jefferson quarterback, who's probably one of the stronger quarterbacks, honestly, that I saw this year. Not only his arm, but just his playmaking ability with his size. What a monster.
Yeah.
I just think that this year there were a lot of guys that maybe didn't have as much experience. That might be part of it. Certainly, I think it depends season to season, but I
didn't know if it had something to do with the fact that numbers of kids on teams are smaller, so that you can, I don't want to say protect players, but you have less players and it's a little less wear and tear to run 2 and 3 and 4 wide receiver sets when you have a smaller team. So you run the ball more and you rely more on that than you do.
I'm gonna weigh in on that. I'm gonna weigh in on that a little bit and give you my assessment. I think it's just basically due to, the personnel. Some teams just don't have the personnel at the quarterback position to be able to really, run, so to speak, what they want to run. That RPO. Again, it's just really a down year of the quarterback play in the conference. And I'm, in my estimation, I think we've seen some really good running backs this year. I think we've seen great linebackers this year. I think we've seen some good receiver play this year. But some of these quarterbacks, again, for whatever it is, I think a lot of guys are playing out of position. I think at some schools you just don't have that true quarterback, so to speak. So you're getting a lot of guys that are running backs playing quarterback. So I think that plays into it a little bit. So I think there's a variance of things. I don't think it's just one particular thing why we've seen in 2024 such a down year at the quarterback play.
Yeah, and to add to that, again, we've been very fortunate for many years to have that. In fact, since I've been at the head coach at Hano, that we've had a quarterback that can get the ball downfield. That's an accurate passer that. You go back to like Ryan Van Skelven, who ran those RPOs so well, and he could put the ball exactly where it needed to go. We've had several young men, in Cole most recently, just such a strong arm and in accuracy. He's been doing a great job up at UW Oshkosh. Starting up there as a freshman. As a matter of fact,
I heard that. I heard he's having some really good success. Yep. Congratulations to him.
Yep, he's been awesome. And again, so I think that it just depends on the season, and probably next year, that may change if we get some guys that return with some experience. So, we'll just kind of see. But it's interesting every year to see what team, and I guess that makes it fun as well to see which team have athletes that suddenly they didn't have previously.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree. I definitely agree with you, Coach. Well, Coach, hey, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I just want to say thank you again for being part of the Bailey Pod tonight. Good luck Friday. Good luck the rest of the way. I'm sure we'll talk again. Probably have you on. Maybe you guys make a good run in playoffs. Have you on for a playoff spot. But it's always a treat talking to you. And again, Coach, I appreciate everything that you do here in the conference.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on, and on behalf of my team and my coaching staff, thank you so much. And we're just looking to have some fun and some success. And I think all those things, they certainly, they make the whole experience better. So absolutely.
Well, everybody, Coach Zimmerman, Coach Zim again, man. Good seeing you.
Harold, thank you. Tim, thank you so much.
Absolutely, Coach. Coach Zimmerman, everybody. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you. Good luck this weekend again.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, great show, Harold. Great show. I think Hononegah's in good hands. The rest of the way, I think they're going to be able to. I think they'll make a push in the playoffs. My estimation. I think they'll make a push. How far they go?
It's really going to help if they can get.
But again, how far they go? How far they go remains to be seen. But what they've done thus far this year in the conference has been nothing less than sensational. And they're well coached. And again, like Coach Zim said, he's got players that want to play. He got players that bought in during the offseason. So I think that's why we're seeing them have so much success at this part of the season.
Yeah, he talked about the fact that school ends in May and they start, getting ready. If you're not doing a winter sport, kids go in the weight room in the springtime, either track or in the weight room, and then you start football only training in June. And it's just, that's kind of their process. They have a process. They've been doing it for a very long time before Coach Zimmerman got there. And look, it's a success. they continue to win and they've been winning at a high rate for a very long time. He's got 78 wins now. He has just 22 losses. He's 78-22 for 10 years.
Yeah.
I think any high school program would probably take that.
Yeah, and Coach Zim he's just had a superlative career, as you're alluding to now, and he's just a winner. He knows how to win. He knows how to get kids ready. He doesn't have the most athletic talent every year. We know that, but he finds a way to win, and the guy's a winner, and no one can refute that. And he gets his team ready to play every year. And they're always going to be, in my estimation, Hononegah is always going to be a top 3 program in the conference.
Yeah, I would agree.
See
not having been around the program,
I don't see that changing. I just don't see that changing. Not in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been around, the Nick 10 more than say 5-6 years, but
Sure.
I can't see another program bumping them out anytime soon. Zim's going to be there for a few more years, and then who knows who's going to take his role at that point. But if it ain't broke, why are you going to fix it?
Don't fix it.
Whoever is the next person in line,
whoever's there,
going to do something similar.
Yep. Whoever his successor is, they're going to have success too. Because you're only as successful as your successor. That's how I see it. So, but Harold, hey man, it was a great pleasure teaming up with you today. We're going to do this again, folks. We got a playoff edition that we're going to air next week. Haven't solidified the day yet, but just make sure you go follow, you go like the Bailey Pod, subscribe so you can be notified for this great playoff show that we're going to come out with next week, along with myself, Harold, and a couple of others from the media. So Harold, again, man, Roscoe News Sports editor, Harold.
Hey, Tim, thank you for the opportunity. It was great talking to you and Coach Zimmerman. You can find me on any of the social media platforms. Just search Roscoe Sports Editor. I'm there. You can link to me and you can read my stuff, and we can talk back and forth as well.
Okay. All right. Again, Harold Bone, everybody. I almost called you Harold Bonner. Harold Bone, everybody. Thanks, Harold. I appreciate you, man. We'll catch up soon.
All right, Tim. Thanks. Job. Take care. Be well.
Yeah, folks, there you have it. Another great edition in the books. We're going to go ahead and just conclude the show, bring it to a close. I usually always leave the show just, with some words of inspiration, spur some people that may just need to be spurred at the moment or this week or the day or whatever it may not. Just always know, you can be better than what you were today. And what I'm saying by that is be better tomorrow than you were today. And also, too, in closing, always know you can always better your best. Again, guys, I'm going to close here. I'm going to leave you with some highlights and also, too, a clip of the Nick 10 standings currently right now. Again, have a good night and join the Bailey Pod again next week. Bye.